We no longer want to have industrial plants. We want to put entrepreneurs as densely as possible to come up with ideas. Density drives innovation, it reduces costs, it makes us move to the cities. Cities are the greatest invention of the day. And we today here at this conference celebrate the fact that in 2009, we opened up data. We used Web 2.0 as a way of putting things together. This is our platform, but at the same time, this slide says we've got a lot of problems. The future of work, the future of automation, crowding in cities, the fact that we can't build housing cost effectively enough. So we have a great deal of new work to do. And the critique of us is that smart cities aren't working that well. We aren't solving the problems. So today we have to talk about how to fix that. We can fix it through massive inclusion, getting out of our city halls and working with our customers, working with our, talking about that. And then I say that Maker City prepares us for the future of getting ready for the future of work. So here we talk about examples of citizen engagement with open data. We use how citizens solve problems with open data. How by pushing the smart city into the school system, the whole city becomes a smart city, not just done to it by big contractors. And we have to change people's learning life. We have to smash art, computer science, and tech together, because that's the only way we'll get by. And you have to improve your whole ecosystem. Just as you're announcing a Black Bears Prize here, you're announcing an ecosystem prize, so too in San Francisco. Fellowship. We have a startup in residence. We bring the entrepreneurs into the city, we let them solve the problems. Here's the thing. We're going to have to make big changes because human beings by their nature, we love more stuff. We love more stuff. We're going to have 10 billion of us. We'll have 36 billions per day. More is inevitable. But here's the problem. Less is reality. There's less skilled laborers. There's actually less resources. 30% of our building material goes to waste. 70% of all those things in the warehouse go to waste. We have to do better. We're entering an era where we can use smart intelligence, machine learning to make us better. And sometimes if you ask an entrepreneur something, you may get it. This is a little video about how we build housing for a fraction of the cost, and how this is upsetting the equation in San Francisco. This takes a look at how we can build bridges autonomously, where they basically weld themselves, they reduce their cost, and they measure how they're being used and probably fix themselves. They are the circular economy of bridges. Not infrastructure that falls apart, infrastructure that knows that there's a problem and fixes itself. Here's an example of housing that uses algorithms to go, it does simulation, figures out 10,000 possibilities, what's the best way to solve for solar, for the customer, and for everything. That same approach can be turned to learning. We can learn how a learner learns, teach them a set of skills, figure out what they're good at. AI lifts them up, it doesn't bring them down. And then we'll wrap up on, we can do the same thing with how we design cities. We can design cities collaboratively in a way that allows us to move forward to a new economy. And if we have time, I'll put in that example of the subway underneath it.
Yes, I do.
That's it.
It's a lot better than the first one.
I know, that's what you told me to make it better.
I like the crickets.
Yeah. Speaking of better, you got my notes.
This is a global phenomenon.
You got the number.
Yeah, they will provide it.
No, let's fix it. Just you're gonna have to fix it, right?
Yeah.
Good. It's not good with that. Right now it's good.
They don't stay in the belief.
All right. So you have the 7, right?
뜨거운 박수로 맞이해주시기 바랍니다.
Thank you. And good morning. Thank you for the clicker. We'll move to the future faster now. I want to speak to you today about this concept of from smart cities to cities that dream. Because we have so much we need to do, and so much progress that has to happen quickly, I believe our cities can serve us better than they have in the past. One thing to begin with is, it's sometimes useful to look at the recent past to put in perspective where we need to go and how quickly we need to go there. As recently as 1995, that was just 25 years ago, at the dawn of the internet, top analysts said that we are headed to the death of cities. Because of the growth of personal computing and distributed organization technology, cities will be leftover baggage from the industrial era. George Bilder felt that if we could all connect, why would we have to concentrate in cities? Oops, that's not what turned out. It turns out, of course, cities are more important and denser than ever. They're the most amazing machine on earth. It's where innovation happens. What happened that turned cities into such cauldrons of innovation? You know, when I grew up in Silicon Valley, technology happened in isolated technology parks. It was closed, it was separate, it was in the suburbs, there was a wall. Today we know in a world of open innovation, ideas seed at light speed. That's the reason we want cities, co-working spaces. It's the reason that density drives innovation. Cloud computing reduces costs, so two people can start a company using Amazon Web Services at a bedroom, and they can be in business. That speeds up business. It means big business has to learn to get faster from small business, and that speeds up the whole system. Very much of an unanticipated consequence. What it means is that cities are not just thriving, but in many ways, they're driving this global revolution. I should also point out that I want to thank all of you and wish you all a very happy birthday. Time to congratulate ourselves. It is exactly 10 years to the month, since the modern era of smart cities began. It was in 2009 that San Francisco opened its data. We should just celebrate it here. Put up a little 10th anniversary. I know this is not the 10th anniversary of Young Suk's conference. News One didn't realize they were having a 10th anniversary, but it was 10 years ago that San Francisco opened its data, its crime data, its transportation data, its health data, and that led a whole group of people in to start building solutions for cities. New York fought back just a few weeks later and said, we won't be left off out. We're going to have a cash prize. We're going to turn this into a scrum. And what we saw all over the world were cities and the private sectors and developers realizing the city was something you could do. Importantly, the fundamental technology of that era, of 10 years ago, became the fundamental technology of cities and government. It was Web 2.0, the concept that you could have open services and APIs, you could snap things together, you could come up with a solution quickly, you could experiment with it. Tim O'Reilly wrote about Gov 2.0 and he said the city could be a platform. That's what really drove us for so long. But 10 years in, we had some challenges. It's a different world than it was 10 years ago. We have enormous challenges of inequality, affordable housing. Smart cities have to take on climate change. We have to deal with the issues of the future of work. What is work? And where does automation fit into that? So in many ways, we're in an age of consequence today. And as much as we're excited about the future of connectivity and blockchain, this industry, together with all of the tech industry, has to take accountability for what it's done. Living in Silicon Valley, I can tell you every day, you take accountability for things like what's Facebook done, what's Google done. And so, we're accountable. When I joined Silicon Valley 30 years ago and went to work for Steve Jobs, we said we changed the world. The world didn't much care, but today the work really does matter. And you can notice this with how people respond to the concept of smart cities. We say that a maker city helps prepare its citizens for a future in a time of technological change. Our greatest challenges today is technology and work is changing. How do we prepare for that? In the United States, our newspapers are often left behind in this. So here's the Kansas City Star, one of the large newspapers. We are turning a whole section in it into the future of cities, of making a fourth industrial revolution, and participation. The idea is that this conversation that we're having today should be had every day with students and with parents, showing what's possible and bringing them into the fold. I said that open data is an invitation. We are sending air and noise pollution sensors through the school system to every student. An 8th grader might find a hotspot near where he lives, and he'll be the person to discover the problem. This was done in Barcelona, in Spain, and it was the Barcelonans who fixed the government.
In the heart of bustling Barcelona, Plaza del Sol has become a popular place for friends to meet, relax and enjoy a drink or two. But I spare a thought for the residents who live here. For many families like this one, the noise became unbearable.
They go to buy drinks and beer, they go party, they sing a song a lot. And for me, at morning I'm very tired because I can't sleep good.
I open the window and say, shut up please, and she says, sorry, sorry, sorry.
But the residents here have had some surprising help from this sensor technology made right here in Barcelona. By putting sensors by windows and on balconies, the families were able to prove that the noise levels at night were reaching 100 decibels, far higher than the World Health Organization's recommendations. Armed with their data, the residents went to the council, who agreed to make some changes. Now, the police move people on to 11 p.m. and new plant pots stop people sitting on the steps to drink.
It's more better because the people not sit down here in the place. Now we sleep a lot of the night and it's more good.
So we turned the city into a classroom, having the newspaper be a key part. Kids find the problem that becomes part of the letter page. That makes the smart city a classic, a collaboration for learning. This whole bit about continuous learning needs to be a big part of the smart city going on tomorrow. People will be learning new skills all the time. The traditional concept of a job starts to go away. In Elizabeth Forward, which is in a poor part of Pittsburgh, they smashed together art, computer science, and shop in a way to prepare kids for the challenges of tomorrow. This is that part of Pittsburgh.
The Truth Factory is a combination of 3 classes that were previously separate.